Yeah, so first things first, do not underestimate the question. You see it's very short and it looks like it's very easy, but do not underestimate it. Let's read it. Calculate R, which is the interest rate, if Tony invested 800 rands at R% per annum at simple interest. She received 168 interest after 3 years. I'm going to read that again. Calculate R, which is the interest rate, if Tony invested 800 rands at R percentage per annum at simple interest. She received 168 interest after 3 years. There's a lot of information there. So now let us deal with our information. So firstly, what do we usually do when we have something like this? Pain. Our principal amount, the amount at the beginning, that's 800 rands. Our final amount, that is 800 rands plus 168, which equals 968. Okay, so let me explain to you how that works. It says that she received 168 interest after 3 years. Do you see that? So after shows us that this is at the end of this investment. Okay, so interest, that's what we're calculating, the rate. N is 3. Now, let me just fix my N there. Now they've told us that this is simple interest. So we're always working with keywords here. A equals P open bracket 1 plus I. So let me just put I there times N. The reason I'm putting I there is because I just want to show you something. And so I'm going to move my equal to signs there because I need a bit of space to work with on the left hand side. Okay, so we've got A, which is 968, P 800 open bracket 1 plus the I is the interest rate, okay, times 3. Now let us work with this. Firstly, let me just remove those there. I'm gonna fix this here. 968. Okay, so now we have an unknown that we're supposed to be calculating, and it's in between brackets. So we need to get it out of there. So the first thing is we need to get rid of what is in front of the bracket itself, which is the 800. We get rid of it by dividing both sides by 800. So those cancel. And so now I'm going to work that out on the left hand side. So I'm going to say 968 divided by 800. That gives me 1.21, and then that equals, so remember all of this is gone now, so I've got 1 plus, now I'm going to show you what needs to happen here. Yeah, so because I've got a whole lot of fractions, let's see if I can do that. Okay, that's 1 R over 100 times 3. So first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to transpose the 1. So I'm going to have 1.21 minus 1. It's this one here. That's gone there. it becomes minus because it was positive. Okay, I'm trying to draw an arrow here. Okay, so it becomes minus because it was positive on that side. So this side I'm left with r over 100 multiplied by 3 over 1. Remember, I've taught that when you multiply fractions, it's numerator with numerator, denominator with denominator, right? So let's do this here. So 1.21 minus 1 is 0.21, and here we've got 3r over 100. And so because you've got you've got a fraction on the right hand side, so you need to change this to be a fraction on this side. And so what happens is then cross multiply. Okay, so if we cross multiply, that means I'm going to carry on let me carry on this side. So the arrow points there, so I'm going to start at the top. So I'm going to have 100 multiplied by 0.21 equals 1 times 3r. So anything times 1 is that thing itself. So now we've got 100 multiplied by 0.21, that gives us 21. And so we need to divide both sides by whatever's in front of the r, because that's what we want. And so 21 divided by 3 is 7. So what is our interest rate? So our interest rate is 7%. That's basically what we were calculating. And so I'm going to go through this again slowly, just explaining the steps that are involved here. And yeah, once you get this, then you're going to be fine. It says calculate R, which is the interest rate if Tony invested 800 rands at R percentage per annum at simple interest. She received 168 interest after 3 years. So we've got the principal amount, the amount at the beginning, which is 800 rands that she puts into the bank, and then we've got A, which is the final amount. So they actually didn't give us that, but they gave us the interest that Tony made over the 3-year period. So Tony made 168 rands. So if she makes 186 rands, that means she gets her 800 rands plus the interest on top of that, which is the 168. And so that gives us a total of 968 rands. And so they tell us that the rate or the interest is R. So that is an unknown. We need to calculate that. Excuse me. And then we've got N, which is the number of years. It's 3, it's given. And now they told us that it's simple interest, and that's why you see I used the simple interest formula. And then we've got A. We substituted our values into our formula. Usually we don't have A, and so A would still would have nothing on that side, but because we have the amount at the end, we put it there, and then we substitute everything. And so I said the first thing to do is you want to get, because the R is inside the bracket, you need to get rid of anything that's attached to the bracket, and in this case it's 800 rands. And so you're going to divide both sides by that 800 rands so that it cancels here. And then after it cancels, you don't need to have brackets anymore, because there's basically nothing left outside the brackets, which is actually there's 1, and 1 multiplied by anything, it's that thing itself. And so you just bring down what remains in the brackets, and so that's what I have there. 1 plus R over 100 times 3, and then on the other side I already calculated this, and it gave me the 1.21. And so the next step I looked at like terms. Remember, we did grouping, and so things that look alike must be put together. And so this one was positive, it went over, it became negative. And so on the other side, we have what remains, which is r over 100. And so it was multiplied with 3, but because we've got a fraction, we want to turn our 3 into a fraction so that we know how to deal with it in this step. And then the next step, you see I've got 0.21. It is because I've already minused the 1. So 1.21 minus 1 is 0.21. And so because on the right hand side I have a fraction which is 3r over 100. How I got 3r over 100 is by saying 3 times r. 3 times r gives us 3r, and then 100 times 1 is 100. And so that's how I get 3r over 100. And because we've got two fractions and an equal to sign in between them, that's when we cross multiply. If we have two fractions on the same side of the equal to sign, you multiply numerator with numerator, denominator with denominator. But if you have two fractions with an equal to sign in between them, you have to cross multiply. And so that's what I did in the next step. So my excuse me, my numerator on the right hand side was multiplied with my denominator on the my numerator on my left hand side, which is the 0.21, was multiplied with my denominator on the right hand side, which is the 100. And so 100 times 0.21. And then on the other side, we already had the 3r, and so we're multiplying it with the denominator of the left hand side, which is the 1. So 1 times 3r is still the same, is 3r, because 1 times anything is that thing. And so 100 times 0.21 gives us 21. And so on the other side, we've got 3r, but we're looking for r. So we're going to divide both sides by whatever is in front of what we're looking for, and in this case it's r. You know how you do it when we are solving for x. So basically we're doing the exact same thing here. We're dividing by whatever's in front of r, and so they cancel there, but this side we get what is this? We get 7, because 21 divided by 3 is 7. And so yeah, that's basically how you do that, and that's easy. So just look at it again, stop the video if you don't understand, rewind, actually don't rewind, start it over so that you can get it from the top, and then yeah, you should be fine. So this is easy stuff. So going forward, you should be able to do stuff like this. All right.